outside of T. Just wants to hold the crossfire. We're at less than a minute left now. Mystic are gonna have to work and execute fairly soon. Kirk gets a second kill on the Kronk. That's the Valkyrie taken off of the board. And a man advantage secured as they look to make this execute happen.
Yeah, all of this round has been opened up due to Kirk's push up the black stairs, and not only does he get that positioning, but then he also gets 2 kills in the process of it, taking out Kronk and Deity, though Kronk did use his Nitro so early on that spawn peak from earlier that didn't do any initial damage to any of the Team Mystic players who spawned near that tower where Kronk was looking at. Kirk, though, gets another kill, a third kill, denying a rotate from Foresight, and again, that real estate on the black stairs and just him getting that horizontal control without any real refrag means that he's going to be a big problem for the Gravity Goobers defense, but time is a big issue for Team Mystic as they just have to rush in. Rosa Sparks is going to be the last player alive against 2 Mystic Academy players. He finds one, has to find a second, and does as the time reached 0, and Kirk was on that defuse. Couldn't pull his gun up in time because he couldn't pull his gun out at all, and Gravity Goobers take an ecstatic round 1.
Good stuff from Gravity Goobers, still maintaining their positions and composure that were necessary in order to maintain those post-plant positions. Mystic don't seem to realize where people are and seem to underestimate the gun steal they're going up against. Round 1 going the way of Gravity Goobers, even after a pretty good 3k to open things up from Kirk. A little bit of saltiness maybe, but it's all good at the end of the day. Now we're going over to Office and Exhibition for Gravity Goobers. They're going to extend their lead as much as they can as once Mystic get to the defensive half of this map. Could be in for a little bit more trouble.
Gonna still have the mirror existing, at least on the second floor site. Gravity Goobers win Karaoke Tea Room, and so their secondary site choice is going to be the office and exhibition area. Rosa Sparks, again, the player who won that 1v2 clutch in the last round due to the time just getting a little bit too low for Team Mystic, who seemed a little bit stunted. They got those first 2 kills, got some important control on the top of black stairs, but couldn't really clear any of the other power positions that existed on the second floor site of Karaoke and Team, and so that really allowed Gravity Goobers to capitalize on the fact that time was so low and Team Mystic were a little bit erratic at the end. At least Rosa Parks capitalized on that just a little bit, though. Office and Exhibition, now the site here, as I mentioned previously. And you see kind of like the same type of hold here from Gravity Goobers. Some players in the site, Krunk being one of the main roamers as well, Deity getting the first pick, so not much has changed from the previous round.
Skunks is on rappel outside a bathroom. They seem to have an idea that someone is there, though not exactly where. Part of the wall into office has been opened up, which is going to make things difficult on the hard breach side. Kirk's gonna rappel up onto the balcony and potentially try to get a peek or a nade off just to open something up and bring back that man count, as losing the utility and gunning power that Spider brings to the table is certainly nothing to scoff at. Joddles looking down through vert holes into the house entrance, just wants to see what's going on, maybe get a pick if he can, extend the lead. While a runout is being prepared by Kronk on the other side, as walls start to be opened.
Yeah, it seems like Team Mystic are aware of some of the first floor pressure, and even though Jolts gets that first kill, that means that there is a refrag in hand for Kirk, but a team kill on the hands as Gravity Goobers get another refrag with Team Mystic getting another refrag of their own. Dude jumps in to that split window and gets dealt with by Kronk, and the last 2 players alive, Foresight and Kronk. Foresight on minimal HP, so maybe this is going to be a trade game for Gravity Goobers to be able to capitalize off of this 2v1, force Foresight into the aggressive gunfight first, and then Kronk immediately swinging afterwards. They have to time this correctly. Kronk can't get too aggressive, he does, and maybe being aggressive in that situation was the right thing because Skunks missed all of his shots, his HP is low, and that means that his potential of clutching this 1v2 is a little bit limited, but he's going to get that defuse kit down.
He is going to get it down successfully, but there are 2 people running up on him right now, being extra quick, and Kronk manages to get the pick without losing any HP to boot. And that's 2 rounds in a row for Gravity Goobers, 2 rounds in very good fashion. the aggression from Mystic just not working out like they want it to, and it ends up being more akin to throwing bodies than any actual attempts to get into the bomb site. We're gonna have a quick rehost, as it does appear that there are some bugs affecting our players, so we just want to get that sorted out and make sure that when we get back into the game that there are no such things. As we all want it to be fair here. At the end of the day, we're all here to watch good siege.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a pretty like weird first two rounds, at least for Gravity Goobers. Both of the rounds were pretty solid. I feel like in their favor, a lot of them required some pretty important players to step up. And for Team Mystic, you know, they tried two different approaches across two different rounds. The first round, they tried it a little bit more methodical, a little bit more slow. They were droning. They got some pretty important control on Black Stairs, and that ultimately culminated that really slow and steady approach. Colton made it in time, just getting a little bit too low, and then Rosa Sparks clutching up a 1v2. The next round, they lose the first pick, just like how they lost it in the very first round, but tried a much more aggressive approach, and the refrags just weren't working in their favor. So I wonder what their approach is going to be like in the second round, or sorry, in the third round, and what the approach here is going to be from their IGL.
It does seem that a lot of the aggression that's been happening has been punished. They've managed to get in and get some good picks, especially on round one, but those are not necessarily impactful in the sense that the positions that are still being held after those picks are taken are incredibly powerful at the end of the day. And in that last round, Skunks was not near enough to the diffuser that he could just walk over and grab it. He had to risk his life to do so, and puts him on low enough HP that just one bullet from the MPX was all it took to bring him down. And the thing that I think Mystic are really going to have to worry about here are the positions that are being played. Because the positions being played are excellent. They need to clear out those positions and dislocate Gravity Goobers, discombobulate them, do whatever you have to do to make sure that the positions they're holding aren't as powerful as what they want to be holding.
Yeah, and that comes into play with like nades, with contesting with Osa shields like they did in the very first round. Again, the Osa wasn't really that impactful because eventually they had to move into sight, and then when they tried to, they just got eliminated. So I mean, it's gonna take some getting used to, at least against the Gravity Goobers, because for them, the XPXG roster, if you don't know who Gravity Goobers are, they're really good. They have some really good gunners. I'm gonna be honest with you. They do play a very good defense. Sometimes they may get a little bit too aggressive, but on a map like Skyscraper, it works out because you're supposed to be aggressive. You're supposed to get in the face of the attackers. On maps like Chalet, it's going to work out because you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to aggressively defend map control. On Cafe, not so much. Sometimes you just need to play sight and pull back. So it'll be very interesting when we do get into that third map of Cafe, if we do get into it. But Team Mystic, you know, we have to start off first by winning our own map pick, and you're 2-0 down to Gravity Goobers. This is not a bad scoreline by any means. You can easily come back from this and get a 4-2 half on Skyscraper, because in my opinion, even though the win rates kind of skewed towards the defense, I feel like Skyscraper, with the way that it's built, is a pretty balanced map.
I'm inclined to agree. This definitely isn't the end of the world for Mystic, as they do have 4 more rounds on this half to bring things back, make it even, or just get a man advantage or round advantage if they want it for the next half. Though again, I think the biggest thing is going to be making sure that those positions that are being held by Gravity Goobers aren't just allowed to be held throughout the entire round, because those really are what's undoing a lot of Mystic in the end, I think. You're going to see a kitchen and barbecue defense come out here with an extension up to the top floor, which means that they're going to have to clear out the top floor if they want to go for any sort of plant inside of kitchen, and then they need to translate that into a play into kitchen itself, which could be a tall task, especially with how well Gravity Goobers are playing. But with the time they've had to talk with the rehost, I'm sure Mystic will have cooked something up and know about what they're doing.
All we gotta do as the cast is just let Mystic cook, and cook as they will. And it's not the end of the world that they're 2-0 down. This is a pretty, you know, I feel like if you're going to be losing, this is pretty good score line to start at, because it gives you 2 rounds to assess your threat. It gives you 2 rounds to try two different approaches to an issue that you've been encountering. You try those 2 different approaches, you got to see which one is a bit more effective and capitalize off of that. And I feel like the first approach was a little bit better than the second, at least in terms of how it ended out with Gravity Goobers winning that one in a 2v1 between Crunk and I believe, yeah, Crunk and Foresight. But now Gravity Goobers have an extended hold on the top floor, and like you said, if they really want to go for anything, they have to encounter the roam game here. And it looks like two of their players, one on the rappel on the karaoke window, the other on that black stairs doorway, now entering in as Spider. And it looks like they're gonna try and contest a little bit, or even hold crosses to deny rotations to the important areas on that second floor in which they want to encounter on the first floor.
That's certainly appeared to be the case. My stream does appear to be frozen for the moment. I'm not quite sure why that's happening. So gameplay's a little bit behind, but we do have Foresight holding a position, as the will Mai. Spider wants to go for the logical frag grenade onto his shield. He's gonna have a bit of a rude awakening, as that's gonna need to be burned. Just over a minute here is all that separates us between the results of this round and now. Aggression is coming out from both sides, but thus far no one has been felled. Amkey repelled outside of karaoke, wants to hold the cross, wants someone to walk into him and make something happen, but thus far no one's given that to him. As we enter the last 50 seconds of the round, and still, no one's died.
Yeah, no one's died, and the positions here from Gravity Goobers still exist on the top floor, and Team Mystic have not done a lot to dislodge them. And I feel like for the most part, there isn't a lot to really clear on the top floor, and maybe Team Mystic can have this player on the karaoke window holding his position, holding the crosses, and then just encounter Sight at least on barbecue, the barbecue side of things. You still have Amkey on that window, like I mentioned, but also he probably needs some help on that second floor too. And just like that, the kills ring in. Amkey getting the first one with the refract coming in from the Gravity Goobers. But as the dust settles, the smoke clears. Kronk, the last player alive in a 1v4, grabs one, but the plant is going down. And Team Mystic, just like how they did in the first round, time was running low, but this time they actually win it.
Good stuff from them, able to close it out in the end, able to get and maintain the man advantage, which they had a lot of trouble with in the first couple rounds. Now, Gravity Goobers are going to look to repeat the success they had on rounds 1 and 2, going to karaoke and then most likely Office Exhibition immediately afterwards, to try to round out this half and get themselves the best round advantage they can and bring that in. Although Mystic have shown that they're able to adapt to what Gravity Goobers are doing, and they have the advantage of hindsight with how this was held the last time, and they're going to be able to use that power and make sure that they don't let things go south again.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, time got low again in that last round, but still able to pull it through, because not a lot was really like we saw the setup from on the second floor from Gravity Goobers, but not a lot of ground was really like covered. They were kind of like a little bit more further back than you would expect a second floor hold above kitchen and barbecue to be, and that allowed Team Mystic to kind of like go for a half clear, or really not really go for a clear at all, with Amkey holding a passive yet aggressive angle on a karaoke window, and was able to cut off so many positions when Gravity Goobers were trying to take barbecue, and they didn't really have enough bodies on the barbecue site to really make up for the lack of presence above it.
Certainly is the case. Drone inside of karaoke from Skunks, which is going to net them a lot of valuable information they're going to want to use to get into said site. Amkey could get on a rappel and just watch a window for a sec. Make sure that all those jump outs are secured with a claymore, and then head to the top black doorway. Looks like they're going to want to do something similar to what they did the last time, with the attack hinging on a lot of that top black pressure. Shots go out into the shrine window, but no cigar. Spider gets the opening pick onto Deity, a beautiful player to get off of the board, and I believe the first time Spider's been able to crack a round open like this.
Yeah, for the past few rounds, he's been on the end of the first pick, at least when Deity has been shooting back at him, and now in this round he's been able to strike back and get deity first. Kronk, though, on the first floor, might encounter himself in a gunfight, gets droned out, and smartly runs away up those main stairs back into what I assume is going to be Dragon Dude holding the top of black with that Osa shield, cutting off the hallway. And again, it seems to be a passive hold towards this karaoke site, just like how it was a passive hold towards barbecue.
Minute 15 seconds left here. Position still being held firm by Gravity Goopers, most of which are on the drum and terrace side of things. Potential Vertinade coming out here from below as we enter the last minute. It does ring out and it does deal a good bit of damage to Sparks, but doesn't kill him. Nid going top spiral as well, or top wave, sorry. Joddle's almost down for the count off of that one. Another soft nade rings out, 45 seconds left here, so the execute's going to have to happen any second. Krog's going to reposition, Mirror Window's going to go down here. This Mystic just lies and wait. Dude's going to enter the bomb site, place down a nose shield, and try to plant behind it off the smoke grenades that have been thrown down. Skunks gets another pick as he holds the rotates for a big guy, and the diffuser goes down and puts Gravity Goobers in an awkward situation.
Yeah, Gravity Goobers giving up that site for free, and Kronk not really capitalizing on his position in Geisha or just rotated a bit too late. Anyways, regardless of that, plant has gone down. It's a 2v5, and the post-plant positioning here from Team Mystic is strong. Kronk does find the first blood, though post-plant, but Kirk finds another. Kronk with the second, a nice headshot, and maybe can grab a third with the Deagle when he pulls it out. Eventually, though, he's probably going to be swung on at the same time that he swings this sledge, and he doesn't get the kill until now, but is immediately traded out by Dude, like I said he would be. And Team Mystic in a second round in a row, again capitalizing off of the lack of presence in the karaoke site and the lack of presence as well around the site, just like how there was a lack of presence above barbecue.
Thought we're gonna see master bedroom and bathroom for a second, though it did seem to be a misclick because we're going back into exhibition office. This is the last site the Gravity Goobers have a 100% win rate on, and they're going to want to keep it that way, as if they can win this round, they guarantee themselves a 3-3 half at least, which is nothing to scoff at for Skyscraper. However, judging with the last two rounds, it's that the Mystic aren't going to be satisfied with that either. Mirror windows go up yet again, as they've been quite a staple of this defense from Gravity Goobers thus far, which is understandable, as she makes defense a lot easier if you know what you're doing, and a lot of players are a little bit scared to peek those mirror windows if they see them staring back at them.
They're certainly a scary operator, very scary operator, as it was in the very first round, and as it was, well, I wouldn't really say in the second round, because Team Mystic didn't really encounter the setup. They just kind of like ran in and died, and that's how that round ended. But you see the mirror windows, their placement. One is going to be angled towards the room that is in between drum and exhibition. Whereas the other mirror, I'm not too sure what that's on.
Looks like it's on mini bar, looking towards the feet holes that have been created inside of the office wall, which is quite the setup, something I haven't really seen before, and I like seeing stuff like that. And like I said before, this is typically when that unique stuff you come up with is going to be brought out more. Kirk playing the Lion is going to allow for some stoppage of rotations, as well as having those impact EMPs, or flashbangs in this case. More burn, more ways to dislodge people from their positions. Sparks creating himself rotate into office in case he needs it to get out of exhibition. As Mystic rotate, poke, and prod, and make sure that no matter where they are, they're doing something. Opening pick almost comes out as Sparks gets aggressive and is almost punished by Anki, but not quite. As we enter the last 2 minutes of the round here, Mystic look to again continue their success.
Past two rounds, Mystic have found a weakness in the site, whether it's been a lack of presence inside, around the site, underneath, or up top of it. They found that weakness and they've been able to exploit it in the last 2 rounds in a row. This time, it's over aggression from Rosa that gets punished by a nice peek from Spider, though refrag from Jolts.
We are going to see Kirk get another one onto Krong, taking inside of Dragon along with Dude. There is a challenge that comes out, but it appears that Deity is now worse for wear. Spider's still outside of the main breach, wary of someone trying to come from behind him, but nothing happens yet. Big Guy is downed over by Dragon, and Kirk is heavily damaged by the Bandit that's being played by Foresight. Only about 45 seconds left is all that Mystic have to try to make this round work. Certainly is possible, but there is a lot of utility they have to contend with in order to make this happen.
Yeah, a lot of positions being held down here from Team Mystic. That's the one thing that they struggled with in the past few rounds. Spider grabbing a kill with Jolts finding one on the rotate up the house stairs, but Kirk over the balcony, over the balcony from above finds the last two, and Team Mystic are able to put themselves on 3-2.
From the top rungs, Mystic take 3 in a row and do a pretty damn good job dismantling the defense as the Gravity Goobers have laid out. Exhibition Office is where we're going to go again, so Gravity Goobers see something that they like, they see something that they want to improve on, and they're going to go with that. And they don't really have much other choice, as every bomb site's been lost pretty effectively at this point. So there's not many places they can go that are safe havens. So go back to office. They're gonna reinforce that wall this time, that office wall. Change things up a bit. This is a very different strategy to what we saw before. But again, you want to bring out your good stuff. You really want to make sure that you take as many rounds as you can. As save strats mean nothing if you don't make it to the grand final.
I know for sure. You make that joke about before G2 kind of had like multiple different rebrands of like multiple different super teams. We made the joke for them every time they underperformed in a match. Saving strats this, saving strats that, but every time they went, or after they've won like SI against Empire, they started to kind of like fall apart internationally. They weren't really doing as well. You know, they lost the grand finals in the, I can't remember which major it was against
Raleigh.
Empire. Yeah, Raleigh major. That's really easy name to forget. But the Raleigh major against them 3-1. And then they proceeded to get knocked out by Fnatic in SI 2018, which was a pretty heartbreaking one. A good win for APAC, but just a heartbreaking one for those who've been watching G2 for a very long time.
Sparks gets into an early engagement where he is downed by Kirk, which is another opening engagement going the way of Mystic. They've been very good at those recently, and there's no immediate refrag either. Which means that, yes, the utility that Sparks brought wasn't the most impactful, but he's dead, and there's no one left to refrag him. There is a Frost Mat that does down Spider, but Spider does make it out alive. And Mystics start to open things. They start to get the control they want, as they are really efficient. And this being a more traditional hold of this site, it is going to be far less complex to try to dismantle than what they've seen previously.
Yeah, they've been very good at sniffing out some of the positionings here from Gravity Goobers, at least on the first floor, and just generally around the map pretty well. In the first 2 rounds, they struggled with that, and now Gravity Goobers, after Team Mystic have adjusted to them, they haven't really adjusted to Team Mystic. A lot of the same tricks aren't working, and it's time to change up something, but this is the last defense to do so, and they haven't really done that. Rosa Sparks, the first pick on Frost, an operator that isn't really known that well for her utility throughout the round, or not really in terms of like rechargeables like Wamai. Refrag though in the hands of Gravity Goobers as they grab Spider, and all frag grenades have been exhausted from Team Mystic at this point, but that's still a body and a lurker that you don't necessarily want to lose.
Impacts are going to go out. They want to get rid of these shields that Skunky's bringing, but only one's been used so far, and there are no more. The split window is locking Deity between a rock and a hard place as he has to hold out here. Kronk gets a pick onto Kirk, so things are slightly easier. Damage dealt to the player on that split window. Foresight looks to hold the jump in, and Kronk gets another kill. It's only left to Kirk and Skunky. Dude jumps in, not Kirk. And then he's going to go to the house stairs, but the rotate is anticipated. It's all up to Skunky. He's off that side of the breach, and he doesn't even get one. His Foresight kills him off, and that's a 3-3 half. As Gravity Goobers move on to their attack.
Good start from Team Mystic, but again, the execution just not really there. They couldn't really find a way to remove those power positions, as you've mostly have said over the past few rounds have been an issue for Team Mystic. And in that round, or in the past 3 rounds in a row that they've won, hasn't been an issue up until that very moment. You know, they don't really have the nades to deal with positionings because they kind of wasted them a little bit too early. And they it's kind of a real big issue when you have to get into sight in the last 40 to maybe 25 seconds, and you still haven't cleared some of those horizontal positionings that exist around the site to deny you entry into it in the first place. But now going on to the defense, a 3-3 half is in hand for Gravity Goobers as they go into the attack.
You guys see Mystic sort of with the same site that Gravity Goobers did, that being Tea Room and Karaoke, albeit with a much different defense, notably lacking the Mira. They do still have the Valkyrie, though, which means Enki is going to be able to give his teammates a lot of information they're going to be able to use. And the Frost and the Warden bring a Nitrous Cell and a shield, as well as those Frost mats, which are going to make Windows a perilous adventure if Gravity Goobers don't drone or check them. So all around, a lot of solid utility to play some good positions and stall quite a bit, but at the end of the day, it does come to how it's used.
Pretty average clear on a Karaoke Tea Room site. The last time that we saw this site being played from the attacker's perspective, Team Mystic have gone for like pretty direct approaches, with the player going on the repel on a Karaoke side, with some players engaging into taking control of top black. And in this case, Gravity Goobers seem to want to encounter some of the roaming that existed from Team Mystic on the east side of the map on the second floor, but some of them have also kind of like dispersed from that at the same time.
There is a lot of presence being held on the side of the map, and we're a minute into the round and no one has actually entered inside of the building yet from Gravity Goobers. We still have a player inside of office, that's the Frost of Big Guy, as no one's really given him any reason to leave. Actually, it's not the Frost of Big Guy. I lied, it's someone else. Don't read the silhouettes, kids. Enki sitting on the house stairs. One lurking down below, potentially wanting to lurk up his staircase. Gonna start to do that. It's actually Kronk that gets the first pick on the Spider, who's kind of fallen off a little bit in these last couple rounds. As we have a minute and 20 seconds left, just about, and PXG have to work something.
PXG do have to work something, or XPXG. Gravity Goobers. I like the name, and I also like their logo.
It's very good.
It's very good. I love that movie.
Very good rebrand.
Yes, of course. I love it. If you're gonna do a rebrand, do it right. Do it like Gravity did it. Anyways, regardless of that. Now inside of the map, a minute or 2 minutes has already been passed, and Gravity Goobers still haven't really gotten a lot of control. The only control that they've gathered is because Team Mystic have pulled off from most of the map to let them encounter their setup and let them encounter their power positions, in which they know they'll win 95% of the time.
Smoke brings out onto the Geisha balcony. Only 30 seconds left, which means that the smoke is supremely powerful right now. Until he is killed off by Foresight. Kronk is refragged though before being refragged by Deity. And now it's all just left up to Enki. He only has 15 seconds left to hold off this attack, so it is certainly possible, but they know where he is. Gets one, but in the end, it ends up being a trade that benefits Gravity Goobers as they go 4-3.
Pretty surprising end to that round, as Gravity Goobers, for most of it, didn't really have a lot of advantages apart from map control towards the middle part, or sorry, towards the end of it, really. And that's because Team Mystic gave that up to them willingly because they knew that they could probably hold the power positions. But in that case, they just got a little bit too aggressive. At least in the Smoke's case, who just swung and died to Foresight when you could have just waited for him to jump in, whether it be into the Frostmat, even though Foresight did shoot it. When he's shooting at it, you could have swung on him and then caught him off guard, and then the rest of Team Mystic just lost their gunfights in very important power positions. And that's what kind of costed them the round. Gravity Goobers put themselves up 4-3 And around that, I felt like should have gone Team Mystic's way, but it's good that Gravity Goobers didn't just completely bow down to them despite the time disadvantage and despite the power positions disadvantage as well.
Back to office exhibition we go. Opting to do a site rotation instead of reattempting the site that you just lost. As they set up a very different defense from what we saw previously, but one that does still have the Mira. Actually, no, it's very similar now that I look at it a little bit more. They do still have the footholds inside of the office wall. And we're gonna see a much more west-over-oriented clear coming out from Gravity Goobers, certainly much more west-oriented than anything we saw from Mystic. Which I'd say is a solid decision, as if it's made difficult to attack the office wall, then we'll just don't attack the office wall.
A lot of teams kind of make that mistake as well for office and exhibition executes. Trying too hard to get the wall open, and then you waste most, if not all of your utility, all of your heart breach. When you could have just adjusted and then used that heart breach for something completely different. And now you see the adjustments coming in here from Gravity Goobers. Something that they don't lack at is their ability to adjust properly, but what they did lack in this round is watching the flank. No drones, at least to watch for it. The drone coming just a little bit too late, and it cost them the first death in this round.
Nomad taking off the board. That does give them someone who's dedicated to just watching flank cams, but if there are none set up, then that doesn't really help a whole lot. Deity is doing his best Nook impression while playing the Ash, just kind of skulking down below, trying to find Kirk. He does manage to find the head of Kirk, or Aimkey rather, which means that there is a refrag that happens, although Jaeger for a Nomad is a pretty solid trade at the end of the day. 1 minute 20 seconds left, so there's a good bit of time left to make this execute happen, but they do still have to make sure they don't stall out too much. As it looks like they want to get into Dragon as well as Terrace, although Spider does make that more difficult by killing off Deity. And Big Guy has a pretty solid rat position that they might not be expecting, but the refrag does come out. Foresight picks off Spider, and now we're in an even 3v3 going into the last minute.
3v3 time getting a little bit low, but not too low for Gravity Goobers to panic just yet. What you need to be panicking about is the just the power positions that are being held for Mystic and being held dutifully so, as they find themselves in a 3v2 mana advantage. Kronk and Foresight, the last two players left alive against 3 full health players, and their health isn't exactly low, but it isn't exactly high. Neither Skunks wins that gunfight against Kronk. You heard the shots of the 552 Commando ring out, but it didn't ring true. Foresight 1v3 has the AK-12 in hand, one of the best guns in the game. Did get a nerf in this season, but you can't depend on the accolades of it. Team Mystic win that round, again, based off of just real power positions and just them winning their gunfight, something they couldn't really do in their first defensive rounds, but they were able to do it in the second.
Even though there was a very clear circumvention of their main office hold being done there, they do manage to adapt it and make sure that things coming from the other side are not going to happen easily. And it's done pretty well, even though it didn't look like the initial intention of Aimkey was to roam over on that side. He does manage to get a pick and then force them to hunt him down before he's killed off. And in the end, that time waste and kill that he got does benefit Mystic a lot in the end.
And no, for sure. I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate that just a little bit. Even though the kill is going through against Aimkey, he wasted about maybe like 10 to 30 seconds of just them hunting him on a drone. And all you really need to do in that situation is stay alive. It would have been better if he gotten the kill, but it was still good enough that he wasted that much time and then proceeded to pick off the Nomad instead. And so that made, and even the Nomad pick in itself, and it costed PXG or XPXG just a little bit, because you still have to worry about your roams. Now your Nomad's dead. Where are your air jabs? And of course they don't exist because Aimkey was allowed to bypass the flank watch in that sense.
Yeah, it just really suck when the person that you want to do the flank watching gets flanked, so a little bit unfortunate there, though that does happen. Oftentimes playing competitive Siege is more akin to a circus than anything else, which I feel like is demonstrated by the flank on the flank watch happening. Though I do like that Mystic do take aggressive positions that maybe weren't necessarily designed to be used that way, but end up being pretty damn effective in that. Like, big guy just sitting behind the dragon statue. It's very difficult to get a gunfight on someone like that, especially when he has an ADS, so he can just kind of sit there, take some pot shots, and unless the person who's on the other side is like Newers or Sploit, probably pretty safe in that position.
Yeah, one thing that I talked about, at least in their previous defense or their first defense, was the fact that I felt like they got a little bit too aggressive in their power positions, just swinging when they probably didn't need to and giving up picks when they didn't need to. And they did the opposite of that round. They weren't really peaking too much, and they peaked when they needed to, and they swung when it was the right time to do so, when they knew that PXG weren't really paying attention all that much, which was, like, again, a really good adjustment. I noticed that from PXG in the middle of that round when they switched up their attack, knowing that they probably couldn't go for the office exhibition or the office wall, the office main wall, and instead switched up their attack to a more patient, to a more methodical approach. They just couldn't really shut down the flank because their nomad didn't have enough time to set up, or when they were trying to set up, they just got shot in the process. It happens on these bigger days, on these bigger jobs, and it happened in that sense to Rosa. So, I mean, I think we're in the middle of a rehost as well, so if you're wondering why you're seeing our faces, but now we're back up, so pretty nice, pretty nice, pretty nice.
Yeah, a lot of those players like Amki and Kirk like to bring out that sort of inner silly goose that we all have whenever they're in these very important matches, and it has a really good effect there, being that they kill someone, they have to hunt him down. Barbecue and Kitchen is going to be the next battleground, which Mystic opts to take us to. So they are opting to do a full site rotation, even though they did lose the first site in that rotation. Not a bad call at all, as typically you don't want to go somewhere right after you lose it. And this gives them a chance to figure out how they want to play T and Karaoke before they have to go back there again.
No, for sure. I felt like I said it, I felt like they could have easily won Karaoke T, were they not just a little bit too aggressive, but Barbecue and Kitchen, mainly going to be dependent on how you hold that top floor. We saw how Gravity Goobers held onto the site. It wasn't really that great because they kind of left Barbecue a little bit too overexposed, allowed Team Mystic to get too much ground on that second floor, and were just a little bit too passive when it came to how they wanted to play above the Barbecue site in particular. And it doesn't seem like Team Mystic are going to afford that same luxury to Gravity Goobers.
Does seem like they want to stomp things out before they're able to manifest themselves as round wins for Gravity Goobers. They do see some fairly aggressive positions being held. Those are probably going to be fall-off positions. They're going to be falling off pretty early. It's mostly being held by Inky on that Capcan. Again, he is trying to play aggressive. Trying to be very in-your-face over against Gravity Goobers. Sparks wants to get inside of Split, and he does. Watches out for Capcan traps, as they have to worry about those now. As he looks to make his way in and try to get in there in an efficient manner and kill someone if possible.
Yeah. Slow and steady approach like it was in the last round before the rehost did one. It looks like we are going to get another rehost, so hold on to your trousers. This is going to be a long ride if we keep getting those. But again, the approach here from Gravity Goober is going to be a little bit slow and steady. And they're going to use the Lion at least to try and hold off some of these positions, or at least keep Team Mystic in place as they try and figure out what to do next.
One Capcan trap taken off of the board, 1 minute 30 seconds taken off the board, nade goes out. Doesn't harm Inky, though, at least not enough to kill him. Spider gets the opening pick onto Deity, and then he gets a second onto Sparks before getting killed himself. And that 2-for-1 trade really puts Mystic in a great position for this round, as Inky is still alive and kicking, still causing them problems like Kronk's life insurance now needing to be collected in a timely fashion.
Yeah, that 2-for-1 pick, like you mentioned, kind of threw Gravity Goobers off guard, and it seemed to throw them into disarray despite them getting the frag right on the back. Jolts and foresight two operators that in a situation like this where it's just where you have to try and work your picks, these two operators are usually not the operators that you would want, or at least the gridlock isn't, but the ace might as well be with how powerful the AK-12 is. Gonna throw a Selma onto that barbecue wall at the bottom of black and open up that web a little bit more. Jokes tries to take his gunfight, work a pick, can't do so, and Foresight is left in the 1v4.
Oop. Doesn't last long though, as Kirk opts to just take him out swiftly. Make sure this isn't prolonged. We are going to have a quick rehost, which instead of making you sit through our faces again, we are just going to send it to a break this time as we get things sorted out. And hopefully this is going to be the last time we have to do this, but again, Siege can be kind of a circus sometimes, so we're not 100% sure on that, but make sure to stick around, get up, grab some popcorn, go to the bathroom. We'll be right back. And we're back after what feels like more rehost movies than we've had, or more rehosts than we've had Purge movies. We are back. Hopefully this time it's going to be the last one, as it's kind of hard to continue a flow in a storyline when you got to rehost every few seconds. It does mean that the teams do have an opportunity to talk the previous rounds over, just not with their coaches though. So maybe we'll see some funky, new, cool, hip with the kids strategy come out.
Hip with the kids. Hip with the kids.
I may be an old man at the ripe old age of 21, but I do consider myself hip with the young gamers.
I'm older than you. I'm older than you. Don't talk like that. Oh my god. That was horrible. Ah, okay.
What do you
Karaoke.
do, fellow kids?
Please. Oh my god. Alright, well, Team Mystic. As we get back from the rehost after rehost. Pick Karaoke T after winning the barbecue site previously. If you didn't know about that round, now you do. They won it in a 4v1. Or yeah, 4v1. 4-on-1.
Yes.
So pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, they did. Gravity Cooper's got a little bit cooked there on that previous bomb side, but they're gonna have a chance to try to bring things back. Although if they lose this round, then that does mean they go to map point, which Mystic's certainly going to be happy about, which means there's a lot of gravity in this situation the Gravity Goobers are going to have to deal with.
Yeah. Most of the setup here from Team Mystic, like you said, it's just a bit not spread out or anything, but it is extended at least towards the office site, which isn't uncommon for a Karaoke T. But Aimkey on a jump out gets the first pick.
Run out.
Yeah, like what? And he ends up getting jolts in the process, and that's the Habana. And at least on Karaoke T, hard breaching isn't that essential for you to be successful, but that's the first pick going in way of Team Mystic again, and it's another as well.
And now we have Spider, who still hasn't been cleared out. He knows that someone is still around this area, and he wants to try to make them disappear. Mystic do have a couple bodies to throw around now before things start to get hairy. See Sparks get inside of the split wall, trying to hunt down Spider, although it doesn't appear that he knows exactly where Spider is. A pick needs to happen for Gravity Goobers by this point, and they get the opposite of that. Spider's gonna grow a little bit more brave as this happens, still sitting behind the bar. He's gonna swing out onto Rosa, but nothing comes of it as Kronk gets killed off by Big Guy, and then the swing from Spider. As Gravity Goobers are dismantled, tactical timeout comes out. First one of the series, and now they're gonna sit down with their coach and just try to sort things out. Figure out what is happening. How do we win? Flawless round after the rehost.
Yeah, Team Mystic just completely dismantled Gravity Goobers, as you mentioned, and gonna take a tactical timeout to figure out, well, what exactly is going on, because it seems like for the past few rounds, Team Mystic, or for the past 2 rounds in a row, that Team Mystic have won, that resulted in them being on match point. It's been complete rollovers, a 4-on-1 before that round, and then just a flawless happening with no immediate refresh from Gravity Goobers, as they couldn't really get a lockdown on the positionings from Team Mystic around the map.
In the past 2 rounds, Mystic have had 1 death occur, which is highly impressive and not entirely unexpected, but I think after we got this far into the series of Gravity Goobers competing like they have been, I don't think it's what we anticipated happening. Tactical pause is about to end, which means that we are going to get back into the game soon. Bedroom and bathroom, exhibition office, going to be our final battleground here. As Mystic are just going to shut this out here, right? They want to take this map. They want to take their map as typically the best of 3. You are expected to win your map choice. So they're going to want to take this and then just take that momentum into the next map, which they're going to be feeling confident on, as it is the worst map thus far for Gravity Goobers. And obviously, we have a little ways before we go to that, as there's a minimum of 1 more round and potentially up to 5 more rounds, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Tactical timeout not only gives Gravity Goobers the chance to at least talk things over and figure out what to do in the next round, but it also kind of slows down the ride of momentum that Team Mystic are on. It gives that opportunity to slow it down, but it's not going to confirm that it's always going to be slowed down every time a team takes a tactical timeout when a team flawless comes in around previous. So it's going to be very important what the response is from Gravity Goobers in this round, and it can not only dictate the end of Skyscraper or just how Skyscraper progresses on afterwards, after this round, but it can also dictate what the series might look like on Chalet, because losing a map, even though it is your opponent's map pick, and especially after taking a tactical timeout, can lead to some disruptions and some mentals, because those rounds weren't necessarily close at all.
A lot of bullying going on from Gravity Goobers. It's kind of shaking them by the ankles and getting all the change out of their pockets. We're going to see some fast things being opened up on the west side of the map here from Gravity Goobers, but there is utility in place from Mystic to try to stop it. Bandit tricking happening on this wall into Drum, and the first one is successful. And there's no real way they can get him out of this position without taking into Terrace, which is going to be heavily defended as well. This keeps on the bandit trick, as the longer he can waste this time, the better. There's a player ratting inside of Terrace, and it doesn't appear they know he's there. Everything on this side of the map is barricaded as well, so there's just so much that needs to be cleared, and so little time to do it.
Yeah, you'll notice that the setup and the way that Team Mystic are like playing, they have a lot of resources kind of expended, or a little bit of their resources expended, plus some barricades up on the map. But they're not really giving bodies up on that area neither, because they just want to waste some of Gravity Goober's time. But no time is wasted on that first pick on Kirk, who is dead, and so that means that body is given up and some ground can be covered here from Gravity Goobers.
Not the end of the world, as his utility is already on the board, and Mystic do have cams for him to watch, but it is not the direction you want to go after the trend that's been happening these last couple of rounds. That adds up to 2 deaths in the last 3 rounds, which isn't bad, but this is the map point 1, and there's been a tactical timeout called. Spider gets a refrag onto Foresight, which means there's quite a bit of hard breach off the board. Aim key ducks and dives around the mirror window. Big guy sitting behind the dragon statue. Only about 45 seconds left here, so an execute's gonna have to happen pretty soon. Frag grenade goes out, doesn't net any kills. Big guy taking a more aggressive position. Deity also doing so. Joddle's getting a pick onto Spider. 30 seconds left here. Big guy still in the same position, but it doesn't look like they really want to contest him. Skunks is watching over towards that minibar side of things, which is where most of Gravity Goobers are. They're going to look to explode in the site within the next 20 seconds or so, and that's something Mystic could be aware of as Imkey gets a pick. And then Joddles gets a refrag before getting refragged himself by Imkey. Kirk has, well, he's been felled, or Imkey has rather, dude coming off of the flank. Once he needs to try to get this plant down, he needs to stop from going down.
No way.
Mystic! What happens? A team kill. And they win their map pick. They really do. And that's, man, that's quite the way for that map to end, isn't it?
No, like, it's just, you know what, it's very weird, that's what I'll say. It's happened before, so PXG, or I'm sorry, Gravity Goobers aren't the first team to experience something like that, but it is never any less shocking when it does happen. So that's the first map of Skyscraper going in hand to Team Mystic, and as soon as the switch happened, Gravity Goobers couldn't really string any consistent attacking rounds together despite winning the first attacking round.
Yeah, it was quite impressive, the comeback that happened from Mystic. It's like when they figured out how they tackled you go, they just said, alright, fine, we'll play your game, and we're going to play it better than you, and certainly is what they did. Though, I can't help but question that decision-making by Gravity Goobers in the end. They might not have had the diffuser, which it was a little bit chaotic, so I don't remember. But they swing the same angle at the same time, and so Big Guy just has to hold down the trigger and combined with the team kill. It's a pretty easy dub for him.
Yeah, and I don't think Big Guy knew about the diffuser not being in the hands of the attackers neither. So I imagine on Gravity Goober's ends that was kind of like maybe nerves, maybe just kind of again chaos. Chaos meets chaos, and you don't know what's going to happen next. They probably didn't think that big guy, knew where to defuse. I don't know. It's a whole mess, and I can only imagine what Gravity Goobers are feeling like. Not only
Welcome back to the final semifinal match for Premier League Season 6. I'm joined by Chaka once again. We're about to head into map 2 of Mystic versus Gravity Goobers. So, tell me, Chaka, What happened the first map?
Well, Team Mystic, won the map 7-4. The end of that map was a little bit awkward, and I actually did rewatch it. It's not something that I'm willing. I don't want to really explain it because I feel like it'll take me a bit. But basically, the fuser was outside on the balcony. Crunk or whoever was outside on the Thatcher died. They couldn't get the fuser because they had 5 seconds up, and so that's why they double swinged. It was just a big mess, and so they just had to kill big guy up in terrace. It was a big mess to that, or a big end to skyscraper in a very messy way. But nonetheless, I felt like a pretty solid first map from Team Mystic.
Certainly do agree there. They only lost one defensive round, that being the first one. Then after that, they just kind of steamrolled. Starting on defense again this map, so they're going to have some momentum to continue. Banning out the Nook. A decision that I think makes sense for Cafe, as a lot of floors are susceptible to vertical frag grenades, and Nook makes that really easy to do if the team that's playing her knows what they're doing, and I'd certainly trust anyone on Gravity Goobers to make that work. Speaking of which, Gravity Goobers are going to ban out the Flores, which is, I would say, a very common ban for this map, as a lot of shields are utilized here, and, well, he's good at making them go boom.
Yeah. On maps like this where power positions are a must, and I feel like this is the same thing with Skyscraper. Flores wasn't utilized at all on Skyscraper, but on maps like Chalet, Cafe, or even Oregon, even though Oregon isn't in the 3 map pool that we have for tonight, he's pretty powerful in disabling a lot of those power positions and making them obsolete. Last 2 bans, at least for the defense, is going to be the Azami and Valkyrie. Azami was banned on Skyscraper, whereas the Solus was banned last time out, and Valkyrie replaces her.
Good to see a Bravo come out from Kronk. An operator we've seen a
Ooh.
couple times in Pro Play thus far, but not really in much of T3 to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see how she is going to be used, especially given the way that Mystic like to use your utility, and, well, if you don't want the wall to be electrified, just hack the thing off the wall if you can get the drone in there, and hacking an ADS as well. Certainly going to be nothing to scoff at. You're going to see Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage be the first bomb site, which is going to be defended here from Mystic. Looks like with the combination of the Oryx and that Jaeger, they're probably going to want to use a decent bit of roaming, but again, we'll have to see how that goes.
Basement is a funny first site choice, at least for Chalet. It's not something that is like surprising or unexpected, because Basement in the past few months, in the past year that it's been in a map pool, it's been in the map pool for a little bit, in a competitive map pool at least. But Basement is starting to become more popular for the defense to actually pick into. Before that, it was like Master Bedroom, and now Master Bedroom, there's been a lot of weaknesses surrounding it, and so not a lot of teams pick it as much anymore, even though it's still picked quite a bit. And just like that, very early on, the wall is open, and that gives PXG something to work with.
Yeah, very efficient opener on that. They did swap out the Brava for, it looks like, an ace. So good stuff on them for adaptations. Nade goes out onto Mezzanine. They want to dislodge. A different player is sitting there, most likely the Goyle of Kirk. And there's also a player on Black Stairs as well. So a decent spread of people that are going to have to be dealt with by Gravity Goobers if they want to make this work.
About a minute has passed inside of this round, and Gravity Goobers just kind of waiting. The only droner here is Foresight, trying to at least drone out maybe what Sight looks like, or if not, sorry, the drone is being spotted by Spider now, as he's trying to drone out his teammate on the other side of the map. And I feel like this is something that PXG kind of struggled with a little bit, that you only have one droner, and I feel like there should be multiple people droning at least for each other on their side of the map, and you really need to focus on what you're doing on your side and then communicate that together as a team and make it so that the execution isn't as complicated as it is.
AMK gets the first pick on the Foresight, and there are only 3 drones left on the entirety of the map here, which is going to make things a challenge for Gravity Goobers, especially with big guys still being located on top floor with that Oryx. Hatch is going to be opened up, or a little bit of it is going to be opened up, but not the whole thing from the looks of it, unless, well, this is successful. Bird play goes out onto the area around the trash cans. Deity takes some damage, and 45 seconds are left here. Deity wants to try to get into blue here, and is getting picked off by Spider with a beautiful flick, as holds the nade in a little bit of an awkward position, but the follow-up is going to get the refrag here. 30 seconds left as Sparks is inside of blue. Watches for a rotation from the line side of things. Shup is going to walk in the breach. Sparks is going to get another pick. But ultimately, a crossfire prevails as Mystic takes round 1.
Very chaotic end to that round. The three, it looked like Team Mystic were going to comfortably win it, but some players just weren't really expected in some positions. Rosa Sparks' position on blue stairs, most notably, wasn't really that expected from Gravity Goobers, from Team Mystic, or else Spider wouldn't have looked away the way that he did. And not only that, but he also got a second. And honestly, if he stays alive, he can also get the player that's behind the bookcase in front of those main stairs. But didn't stay alive long enough, was down for a good chunk of that, the last few seconds of that round. And so Team Mystic grab another one. Now their secondary site choice is leaning towards dining and kitchen, and you expect much of the same, at least on this site. A top floor hold, and then also you have some disruptions in the Capkin and the Frost, but not only that, you also have the Solace for some plant denial.
Certainly is good stuff from them. I also do like the addition of the Mozzie, as drones were quite an issue last round, so by the end of the round there are only about 3 of them left, so making that even more of an issue is something that Mystic are certainly going to be thankful for. That, combined with the Cap Cannon Solus, creates a lot of information denial, along with someone who breaks your ankles if you're not paying attention. It really is quite the potent setup. That Mozzie is going to be playing, from the looks of it, outside of library on mezzanine, putting his pests on those library windows to prevent easy droning. Well, it doesn't look like there's going to be much of an attack coming from that direction, with the main person being there just being Sparks.
Again, you have only one player really droning here from Gravity Goobers. In the last round, the only player droning was Foresight, and I had a real big issue with that because he's on his side of the map droning for players on the other side. And I get it, you're not going to expect Team Mystic to run out on you or anything like that, but he wasn't really busy droning outside, which was, I felt like, something that Gravity Goobers needed in that exact moment. But in this round, Rosa is going to be the one droning, and the encounter from Gravity Goobers is going to be on the second floor, but Spider ends up getting the first pick onto Rosa.
We're going to have a frag grenade come out here from Deity, but big guy's going to use that as an opportunity to reposition and just get out of dodge. 4 drones left, and only about 2 minutes are gone here. Shop does look to get a pick onto big guy from this ego window, but so far no one's willing to peek him. Because Mystic, they don't have to. They're gonna keep peeking because they want to waste as much time as they can and make Gravity Goobers afraid, but they're pretty safe for the rest of this round.
At the moment, it seems like Gravity Goobers are just really struggling at finding ways to dislodge players in the power position. Shup jumps in, gets a kill, but then turns his back and jumps right on out. And that's what I mean. I feel like he could have just, I feel like he could have just won the second gunfight had he just kept his gun up and focused over towards mezzanine. You know what player is there, you know what player is in that specific area, and instead you turn your back away and jump out of Fluke window. And now Kronk, last player alive on library, he's been out here for a good chunk, or if not all of this round. And again, it's like Gravity Goobers struggling to really clear a lot of the power positionings or just getting themselves inside of the map because Team Mystic are showing levels to the aggression that they're exhibiting on this defense.
4v1 here, 35 seconds. It looks like Kronk has just opted to take a moment to let his team talk about what's happening, because Mystic are just kind of, I'd say, doing what we would expect from this being the worst map statistically for Gravity Goobers, as they don't... With Skyscraper, it looked like there was a general plan for what they wanted to do. Like, you could see an idea, even if it didn't work, you could see an idea, but here they're just... It's not going well. We do see Spider get the last pick on the Kronk when he does finally decide to enter the building, because he's wanting to do the casual player thing and just watch a window for the entirety of the attempted clutch, but it is a little bit worrying the fashion in which Gravity Goobers are losing these rounds.
Yeah. First round was really, really close because of the amount of frags that Gravity Goobers were able to get, despite being in a 5v3 man advantage. Rosa Sparks in particular getting 2 of those down those blue stairs on the basement site. Second round, not so close because they couldn't really find a way to properly dislodge the players on the second floor extension. A lot of players jumping in and out of windows and then kind of like turning their backs or getting swung on when they least expect it. And yeah, they didn't really, it didn't really feel like they had a plan, like you mentioned, at least for how to encounter the roam on the second floor, because he seemed stuck for a majority of that round. Tertiary bomb site choice is going to be master bedroom. I talked about the site a little bit. It's kind of gone out of favor a little bit in the past few months, and then as of recently, I've seen a lot more teams pick into it a lot more.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange. Normally we'd expect to see bar at some point in this rotation, but we haven't. Not to say that any of the sites on this map are bad, because they aren't, but it is very atypical to not see bars. It is typically considered to be the most beneficial site for the defense on this map. Big guy gonna place down a late frost mat inside of library, just to make attacking from that side of the map a little bit more difficult, along with the shield to aid in the same point they just made. Doesn't look like this is a full, like, library side overtake, but the utility is certainly going to be appreciated if anyone tries to push over there.
Team Mystic know for certain, at least from what I've gathered, that Gravity Goobers seem to really, really struggle at dislodging some of these positions when Team Mystic are being aggressive and when they are around the map and aggressing onto Gravity Goobers. They seem to struggle with that. And they seem to struggle with having a plan for how to encounter the roam. Anki gets the first pick, and even though he's dead, the Solus is a pretty important pick. But Croc ends up finding another, and it's Gravity Goobers. Well, they did have a 4v3 man advantage, but it's turned into a 3v3 after a lot of chaos in the middle of that round.
Good stuff from Kirk. They're able to get a quick flank off. Almost picked off by the Thatcher watching that Case's window, but doesn't quite get it. Gonna repel onto the balcony now, which does dislodge his aim for a second. He almost picks off the Jaeger yet again, but Spider opts to save his life and stay back. There's now only a minute 20 seconds left here, and there's still a good amount of utility that Mystic can fall back on. They just need to make sure that Gravity Goobers aren't able to get onto the site, and that they don't just throw themselves away needlessly. There is a solid health advantage for Gravity Goobers at this point, but that can all disappear once the time starts ticking.
Yeah. Gravity Goobers trying to work a pick here, as it's seeming a little bit more difficult than probably expected from the XPXG roster. Kirk is still in library. It seems like for the most part Team Mystic are very far away from each other, and that allows for Kirk to be easily isolated in that gunfight and pinched by Foresight and Crunk, or at least mainly just Foresight, who ends up winning his one. But Shup gets caught in a frost trap with the smoke grenade, looking to confirm that kill. It doesn't confirm it because it's a little bit too far away from him. That one is still too far away, but it's not to try and get the confirm onto Shup. Rather, it's to deny Gravity Goobers an entry inside of the site. But that's the last smoke grenade in the pockets of Skunks and in the pockets of Team Mystic, as they have no other plant denial left. Jaeger surely doesn't have anything, and just like that, Shup's position is unknown in piano. And just like that, Team Mystic win another round, third round in a row.
It is certainly a sorry sight to see if you were hoping for Gravity Goobers to win this game, but sometimes that's how it be. Mystic up 3-0, perfect site rotation. The last one was off of a clutch, granted, but it was a pretty convincing clutch, at least in my opinion. Back down to Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage they go. Gravity Goobers are going to have the power of hindsight, as they're going to know how this site is defended and how they can take care of that, but Mystic are also going to be riding the confidence train, as they have now won, I believe it's 6 rounds in a row across the previous 2 maps, with most of those rounds being really one-sided. They're going to be feeling pretty good here, whereas Gravity Goobers probably aren't.
Yeah. Last round was a good opportunity for Gravity Goobers to find one back at least, and they did fight back. They did slow it down a little bit, as they have been for the past few rounds, where it seems like they've been stalled out. But in that moment, they were slowed it down just a little bit. They were able to isolate the first pick onto Krunk, and then they tried focusing on sight. But then after that, the information gathering somehow stopped, and you don't figure out that the piano player is there. If you do figure it out, you're not really quick enough on a trigger to pull it and win out your gunfight. In that situation, Skunks does, and Team Mystic get a third round in a row. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, and Gravity Goobers didn't.
Yeah, and it's been pretty awkward for the Goober squad. Looks like they do want to open up this snowmobile garage wall again, which, I mean, why not? There is going to be an attempted kite trick happening, but it's not going to hold any water as the Thatcher is too diligent. So that is the wall open, but 2 of the EMPs from Thatcher are down. Skunks tries to get a quick peek off, but no one reveals themselves quite thoroughly enough, and he doesn't want to expose himself anymore for fear of getting shot in the face. About 2 minutes left, and there is solid progress that's been made by Gravity Goobers, but they're going to have to turn it into a lot more if they want to effectively win this.
Starting off the round as patiently as they did last time, but again, running into the setup of Team Mystic, more importantly, running into the guns of Dude, and I don't know if there was a drone on him in that particular moment, but regardless of that, he's able to punish the lone pusher of Sparks. And that's something that I feel like PXG have been doing a lot, just solo pushing, giving up isolated 1v1s, and then losing them. And if you're not winning your individual gunfights, then you need to work more together and ensuring that you get an immediate trade when somebody does. And that's not what PXG or the ex-PXG roster have been doing. Deity gonna use his Iona clone to find a player in dining that they knew was there in the first place, but you don't know about AIMQ's position on the west main stairs, and that nets him 2 kills and puts PXG in a considerably worse spot with him getting a third.
It's all left up to Krunk. 5 players left that he has to get through. He does have a minute to do it, but well, Kirk rips his legs off. Flawless round from Mystic as they continue their flawless site rotation into the second loop with a successful round.
It's kind of like reminds me of OXG versus G2 in a sense of how like the map picks and bans worked against OXG like really hard. Like Bank was very close between OXG and G2, but Skyscraper wasn't, and it's certainly the case here. Skyscraper was pretty close between Gravity Goobers and Team Mystic, despite Team Mystic winning, I said pretty comfortably, 7-4 the scoreline, because Gravity Goobers couldn't quite get it together on the attacks. And now here on Chalet, the map pick and ban system is kind of working against Gravity Goobers, who now go 4-0 on their attacking half here on Chalet, which doesn't usually happen. Usually the defense has the boot to their neck here on Chalet.
Normally do expect the upper hand to go to the attacking side, but seeing as well, Nolan on Mystic has negative KD right now, I'd say that the confidence that they're riding on definitely has something to do with it, as the last several rounds that have been won in a row have all been very convincing, or for the most part very convincing, and Mystic are just feeling good, man. Like, they are so ready to take these rounds. They're so ready to aggress, but also aggress with each other. That last round, they expected just Spider to be alone in kitchen, and then Amky's like, hey, watch this. And then he just plays off his teammate, and then Kirk goes for a peek out onto the map, and he gets an opener onto Sparks. And the pace setting that Mystic has been doing has been amazing. No kills left unanswered, and you know, they're doing a pretty good job of making Gravity Goobers uncomfortable to do literally anything.
Not just a pretty good job, not just a damn good job, but I feel like they're doing it perfectly. Oh my god, you know what, the floor coloring is really throwing me off. I thought it would be soft to fix that. Anyways, regardless, Team Mystic have done a very good job of enacting aggression upon Gravity Goobers, and that's something that you'll hear us repeat multiple different times throughout our cast, is the fact that Team Mystic are getting right up in the face of Gravity Goobers, who can seem to do really nothing about it. They've tried droning out, they've tried getting intel, they've tried just getting into the map, and it hasn't been successful. Sometimes they've stayed outside the map for past 2 minutes, and there goes Didi. Kirk, position unknown. The droning not really too great from Gravity Goobers in this round. It hasn't been really that solid throughout this whole match of Chalet, and it's not really paying off dividends. The Solus is absolutely tearing them apart, and so is Dude. The rest of Team Mystic is tearing Gravity Goobers apart, and it leaves Shup in a 1v5. Shup is a pretty good player, but this may be too out of his pay grade.
Down 3-0. Yeah, I can handle that. Or 3-3, we can handle that. 4-2, a little bit higher, we can handle that. 5-1. Now we're starting to push it. The more rounds you have to make up before you start to catch up with your opponent, the more of this kind of weird mental state it starts to put you in. Because you don't want to make mistakes, because you can't. If you do, then your opponents just kind of win. However, you have to go for things that could be considered mistakes. You have to make plays. And as we can see, Mystic, they're not afraid to do that right now. They're willing to throw themselves at GG because it's just been working thus far. And even now, they are kind of memeing, but what reason do they have not to? The mentals that they're riding on are high.
15 seconds to go.
As soon as
Oh my
Shup
God.
tries to walk into that building, someone's gonna fry him. Hell, someone might fry him from the outside as multiple players look to do so, and it happens.
That's a nice shot.
And now, 5-0. 5 rounds have to be made up by Gravity Goobers before there is an even round count. And at any point in that, Mystic could win 2 rounds and finish out the series. Again, it's not impossible. I've seen weirder comebacks, but it is definitely highly improbable with the way things are going right now.
Yeah. You can't really make the excuse that Gravity Goobers are a defensive team, because I would agree. I think they are more defensively sound than they are attackingly sound, and it's because they struggle in getting the plant. We said this. They struggle in getting the plant down. They struggle in getting the execution done. Sometimes they even really struggle when it comes to just droning for each other properly. And not only is this evident here on Chalet, but it's evident here on Cafe. And again, you can use that excuse, but right now I don't really think it's valid. And I think just at the moment, Team Mystic are outplaying them every step of the way. That is horrible texturing. Oh my god, that's really throwing me off.
As you
Look
look
at
at it, just cuts off. What the?
Yeah, it's great. Look at that.
That
Oh
is,
my god, that's pissing me off. That's making me angry.
That is some prime Ubisoft ham right there.
Oh my
It's the
god.
master bedroom, yet again, the tertiary site that Mystic have chosen for themselves. As last time, this was won by a clutch, though it was won by Mystic regardless. It looks like potentially more solar-oriented take coming out here from Gravity Goobers. As if you can't clear the whole map, well then, might as well just take what's close to the site. Looks like they might want to send a couple people through Big Garage up West Main as well, which will allow you to take in through Trophy, as well as catch any creepers lying down below with a C4, while Foresight just cuts off rotations using the windows on Highway.
See, Gravity Goobers find themselves inside of the map, trying a different approach to this site than what they did last time. Last time they encountered a lot of Team Mystic's extension towards Library and got absolutely dismantled because of it. Instead, they're not going to encounter that at all, and instead try and team up against Aimkey on the first floor, but he finds the first pick, and Foresight just kills himself with a nade. This is turning from bad to worse, but Rosa is able to spark on up, and spark he does. He takes out 2 players in a matter of about 5 to 10 seconds, and he puts Gravity Goobers right back into this round.
Gives them an even man count, although it does look like Mystic want to take that back. We do have Skunky still alive, who was the clutch god from the last time the site was defended. Big guy is holding an angle onto this kitchen dining door, hoping that someone walks through it. As if they do, he probably kills them here just based off that angle. Skunks gets a pick onto Sparks, as Shop looks to make his way up the solar staircase, but Smoke Grenade is going to make that awkward. Vertical Nade almost kills Skunky, but not quite. As they all turn their attention towards the solar stairs, Flash Grenades go out towards Owl as Shop makes his way up. Free firing into the clock, gets killed through the feed holes, leaving everything on Kronk. Grabs the diffuser, he has 40 seconds left to work with here. Get a peek into just whatever angles he can. Smoke Grenades go out, forcing him into an awkward position. Almost manages to grab Skunky, but not quite. A player in the bathtub looking to finish him off. Doesn't quite happen, though. And it's going to be Skunky to do it in the end. As Mystic go up 6-0.
We talked about the map bans when we got the maps out here to you guys, and the one thing that we said was the map phase, or the map just live bans or whatever, pick bans, whatever you want to call it, benefited Mystic in our honest opinion. And not only has that paid off on Skyscraper, but it's now paid off here on Chalet. But all it takes is one round for Team Mystic to put themselves into the grand finals, and that means that they'll meet Hong Kong Rebels on a date somewhere nice here on Siege. All the maps are very pretty, so I would have a date on any of these maps. But I don't think Gravity Goobers want this date to end so quickly, because it would be a shame. Third place is not something to scoff at, or even a fourth place if they manage to lose to Dan's team, not Weebs. Because I feel like they've had a pretty good run in the season here in TPL, but they just ran into Team Mystic, who have seemed just far and above the competition so far.
A little bit indomitable, as it would seem, as they're potentially about to take their opponent's map away 7-0. We do see Bar Gaming come out from Gravity Goobers now, which means we have seen all 4 sites that this map has to offer. And maybe the change-up will be what they need. Maybe the defense will be what Gravity Goobers need. However, judging by the way that things have gone thus far, I'd say that it's a little bit improbable. Looks like a very standard northwest over clear coming out here from Team Mystic, potentially. Or maybe it's just... Actually, no, it just looks like it's, Spider sending in a Claymore. There is a Pulse out here who might potentially want to do a run out, and if he does, there is a Claymore lying in wait for him. That Claymore is going to allow him to... is going to allow the Zafia to play a lot more aggressively without having to worry about nearly as much. Deity heading over towards Master Bedroom could be one of the things that Zafia is trying to contest. Trying to get this wall open that Rose is playing on, which is going to be able to crouch under the Havana holes, but not these second ones. AMK gets an opening pick onto Foresight by just jumping into mud. That's the smoke taken off the board. With only a minute left to that, or with only a minute gone, that's not bad.
Yeah, with only a minute gone, it's a lot of progress being made here, and even though Team Mystic aren't exactly in the building, usually on Chalet, you're contesting from the outside anyways. And Team Mystic, they get another one this time through Kurt. Kronk, though, finds the refrag through a nitro cell, and Deity is running right into the hands of a player that he didn't know about. He looked surprised in the first place, and he has to do a fighter out here on the roof, but he can't quite do it, and Team Mystic take an emphatic 7-zip victory here on Chalet to win the series 2-0 in a dominant fashion, as they have been throughout the playoffs.
Really good stuff from Mystic there. Only losing 4 rounds across 2 maps, that is something that is always going to be impressive. And especially in the fashion they did it, where a lot of those rounds weren't anything even resembling close. Good stuff to Mystic for making it to the grand final and giving themselves the opportunity to have the rematch against Hong Kong Rebels, which should be interesting, as both teams have had a good few changes happen since those have taken place. And if you're XPXG, don't worry about it. You still got an opportunity to compete against Not Weebs for 3rd place. And even if you only get 4th, they have made it a lot farther in than a lot of people are anticipating, and that really is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, run-ins here, and even though it was kind of like a little bit one-sided towards Mystic, I felt like Rabbit Goobers, at least on Skyscraper, showed moments of brilliance and showed moments of what they can do and how good of a team that they are. It's just it just they ran into Team Mystic, and I feel like it would have been the same had they run into Hong Kong, who have made some, again, like you said, some pretty new changes as well. But they look pretty good throughout TPL so far, and that hopefully will result in a grand final between two really good teams who have looked pretty solid in the TPO. And I mean, not Weebs versus Gravity Goobers. I feel like that's going to be a good match to watch, in my opinion.
Certainly do agree. Unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure where those are, as I'm not a historian on Premier League, and I don't think Chaka is either. Those should be happening soon, though, and those should definitely be good time. Just glancing over at our production chat here, and you don't see anything. So, as we don't have an interview tonight, as the run of show lies to us all, we're going to go ahead and send the broadcast off there. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to tune in for the third place match as well as the grand finals when they happen, and stay safe.